kiss or we may go in the direction of foreplay, but I ain't have sex, so that was a compromise. But then obviously, I fell. And it was a few months, I think, the first time whenever I fell. And man, I remember the first time I fell into sexual sin when I came home, like no cap. I cried. Like I felt so ashamed. I felt so defeated. And to me it was like travestic, man. I don't even travestic, I don't even think that's a word. But to me it was a tragedy, man. It was definitely a huge failure. And I remember I was just so ashamed with myself and I felt so defeated. Um, but I swear I'd never do it again. Like that's it. I sat myself down in ministry and I was like, man, I swear I'll never do it again. I'm a fight to walk sexually pure. But then it became the pattern, in a toxic relationship and just in a habitual process of just walking out sexual sin. And then I had to confess it. Obviously the first thing I did was tell my spiritual leaders and be held accountable and be rebuked and be admonished. um but I paused everything that I won't say everything, but I paused a big portion of what God was doing in my life. What I mean? I slowed down the momentum of what God was doing. And not just that, ultimately, man, I was unfaithful unto the Lord. And that's happened, multiple times since I've been home, to where twice now I've had to sit myself down because of sexual sin, because of losing focus sexually. And, I put all that out there. Number one, like I said, just to be transparent, just to be honest, and to share my struggle, to share my weakness, and still a battle here today. I want to walk sexually pure. I want to honor Jesus in every area of my life, including sexually, no pornography, sex outside of marriage. And I want to wait for the wife that God has for me. And I know I am going to, walk in that, and I will. But the reality is that I've been fighting, I've been wrestling with that. So whenever I would sit down, I sit myself down in ministry would be the times when I would just have to, I'm still like serving, discipling people in my life and active in ministry, but I would shy away from publicly speaking and preaching and teaching and even turn down opportunities to perform and to speak just because, I want to honor God with that commitment that I made. But also too, man, like I know that we're more effective when we're walking in obedience. But honestly though, now I'm gonna keep it a buck too here with this. I don't know if that's the best decision for real. And I know like ministry leaders and pastors and like think about, oh no, 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 it is. They're gonna say I'm tripping on this point. Um, and I know biblically, don't get me wrong, like facts as a pastor and as a leader, like yo, like there is biblical, like criteria standard. We gotta walk sexually pure. Um, but then again, too, man, I think I would have to go on the scripture on this, man. I don't got the verses at hand to pull up. But as far as I think that for me personally, in that experience, maybe the times that I sat down, maybe I was more prone to discouragement because I wasn't walking in the call that God had on my life. Even though I was still serving or discipling guys around me, uh, from experience, I know that whenever we're actively being used by the Lord, to what He's called and commanded us to do, which is like for me, preaching and teaching the gospel, just walking in the gift that God, placed upon my life, is when like I'm more focused, I'm more like experiencing the fullness of Christ. So like I don't like I said, I don't have a concrete answer in that. But sometimes I question, like I wonder if like sitting down when wrestling with those things is the best answer. Like don't get me wrong, like I think it like if a pastor like leading a church is like tripping, like yeah, bro, you should sit down. You need to sit down for a while. You need to get solely focused on Jesus again. So I don't know. I'm sure every situation is different and it may be an adjustment with each person and each situation, but those are just 2 cents food for thought when it comes to that. So the restoration process, man, is not just confessing it to spiritual leaders.